Hey, folks, thanks for joining us. With me is Shane Winnings, and he just preached 3 services here at Godspeak, and it was epic.
Thank you.
Folks were so blessed. And that message was just unbelievable.
Wow, thank you so much.
And calling folks to a place of forgiveness, and it was profound. And then the 3rd service, there was a healing that took place, which is really cool.
Yeah, we got to pray for a woman. I was closing the service out with prayer, and I just felt like God said brain issue, and there's one woman in there who has a brain tumor.
Yeah.
And so we just prayed, and I'm believing we're going to get a good report back from her.
I love your faith. I love the tenderness. It's almost like no guile. There's a childlike faith in that. I'm blessed by it.
Thank you.
And especially, for a seasoned Army veteran fighting in Afghanistan to have a tenderness like that is a work of God. That's a miracle of healing.
Yeah, totally, because I wasn't always like that. I was the guy who was like, I called it like inward pride. You wouldn't think I was prideful, but inside I was like, try me, try me and see. But God totally came in and wrecked me, and now I just want to love on people and pray for them. I'm not trying to put my hands on them for another reason.
There's a complete sincerity when you're speaking. There's times where you can hear someone speak. They're very eloquent.
Right.
They use rhetoric well, but then there's just something that's not sincere about it.
Yeah.
And with you, it's sincere, sincera, which means without wax. You're legit.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's from the heart, and there's times I do prepare a message, but like I didn't have any notes today. I felt like God was impressing upon me this need of, teaching people how to get free from offense and how to pray. And so I preach from a place of my intimacy with the Lord, So I'm glad, but it's like this is what all of us should be doing is we're spending time with God, and when it comes time, we have something to say.
Yeah, that's right. Shane, you and I met through TPUSA Faith, Turning Point USA, and then we're part of TPUSA Faith.
That's right.
You spoke at the Pastor's Summit. My family was moved by your presentation. I was touched by it. We wanted you to come and speak here. And, you're pretty sought after. I mean, you just did 44 cities.
I did.
And you've got 900,000 followers, whether it's TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah.
And you're doing something every day. I mean, you work hard. And you and Jessica and your little boy Elijah, I mean, it's a beautiful family.
Thank you. I'm blessed.
But you walked away from $100,000 plus, dollar job a year, whatever it is, good salary, great benefits. You walk away from that to, by faith, just start reaching the lost.
Yeah. It was, I had this plan because I had asked God when I went into the police academy in 2016. I had just got born again, so I'm like, man, I feel like I'm supposed to be a preacher, but now I'm in the police academy. And all my instructors were like, "Oh,
well, that's also a minister of justice to
right.
execute wrath on those who
true.
do evil." Yeah,
and we did, and we cleaned our city up as best we could.
What city?
Federal Way, Washington, just south of Seattle.
Gotcha.
But I remember being like, man, all these instructors are talking about you're going to love this career 20, 30 years. And I'm like, Lord, I don't feel like this is what I'm going to do. I want to be a preacher. But I had to submit and say, look, this is what you've given me. I fought for this job. I did everything I could to get it. So I'm going to honor the Lord. And this is what I have right now. So I was a cop by night, and I was a preacher by day. I'd go on the street and preach and all this stuff. Well, I didn't see any doors to ministry open. And so I said, okay, Lord, I'm all in on the cop thing until you do something. And we're on a Dave Ramsey plan to pay our house off in 6 years, 28 years left on the mortgage. We had 6-year plan to pay it off. And it was shortly after that I had this encounter with God on an airplane, and he was like, you're going to leave all of that and be a missionary and a traveling preacher.
Come on.
And I said, when? And he said, you'll never work another shift as a cop. And I checked my bank account, and I had 19 days of vacation. So I called my lieutenant when I landed, and I said, hey, sir, I'm quitting. God told me to quit. And all of my department knew that it was coming. My chief, he told me, hey, I follow your ministry on social media. I had no idea. And so it was like, as radical as it was to step away from over $100,000 a year in benefits, it was marked by just God's peace. When you have that peace, that doesn't make sense. And then, yes, within 2 weeks, we were funded enough to, have a rent and pay off our bills and stuff like that.
You have a large congregation online. I mean, we're talking 900,000, probably daily, 7,000 tuning in live, maybe. I don't know. What are your numbers?
On YouTube right now, we're reaching about 5 million per month.
Now, we won't be
So-
on YouTube. You might be able to post this on your YouTube account. I've been banned for
You
life.
guys are
so,
banned.
yeah.
I have one strike, so I'm trying to play it cool.
Well, keep me
But
off your program then.
Instagram, yeah, we're reaching about 10,000, maybe more a day. So it's been absolutely incredible.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit about your background as a vet. Fought in Afghanistan, what, Kandahar? Or what?
So I was in Ghazni, Afghanistan. I went in 2014. I was assigned to the 1st Special Forces Group. So I was a platoon leader. I was in charge of 76 guys. Went to Afghanistan, came back, got promoted to 1st lieutenant, and then I was 2nd in command of a company of like 110.
That's a lot for a first lieutenant.
Yeah, it was.
Aren't you supposed
It was
to be a captain
good.
by then, or?
Well, you make captain shortly after that. So I was up for captain, and I had a great career lined up. I had gotten some amazing opportunities, and I wasn't even really walking with the Lord. I was serving in church. I was doing all that. I would have called myself a Christian, but I was not. I wouldn't say I was born again. And it was at this time that I just knew God was telling me to quit. And I'm like, why would I quit? My whole life I wanted to be an Army officer. I planned on retiring as a general and going into politics.
Yeah.
And I have this great career ahead of me. And right when I'm about to hit my contract being up 4 years, God tells me to quit. And so I just did, you know. And during that transition from military to police is when I got born again, had a crazy encounter. Then 5 years later, he tells me to quit that and become a traveling preacher. And so it's been wild.
It's kind of like he wants to give you a BSD degree backside of the desert. So
It's true.
it takes away all the comfort and yeah.
As soon as I get comfortable, it's like, okay, time for something else.
So I'm gonna turn the tables a little bit. You're gonna
Okay.
be the interviewer, and really what I want to do is you had an opportunity, Shane, to visit Godspeak and to meet the congregation.
Yeah.
Everybody has an opinion about Godspeak that has heard of us. Either they love us or hate us. There's no kind of middle. And now you've been here. You had 3 services.
Yeah.
Candid, sincere, which I expect from you. Any thoughts on the fellowship that you've experienced here at Godspeak? Any insights?
I can tell you that I haven't seen that many people that hungry for the Lord in a long time. All 3 services, you know, I didn't come up and preach like, hey, we're gonna burn for Jesus and let's see America saved and rah, and everyone's excited. You know, I preached about how most of us are living in pride and selfishness, and we don't mean to, but we are. And I preach a hard message, and I called people to repent of that. And to see people stand up in front of their peers, and some people were in leadership in your church, and they're standing up, and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize, and they're crying.
Yeah.
That is such a humble place.
I was in the back crying.
It's like I wanted to cry because I'm like, I felt God's love for your church, but every single service, people would stand.
Yeah.
And it was like every service that went by, it was more people. I think the last service, it was almost the whole church was standing.
That's 3rd service. That's the energy one.
Yeah. So my opinion is like, you have a humble church, which is great because, you know, as a teacher, as a pastor, people need to be teachable. You can't coach someone who's not coachable.
Yeah.
You know, but you have hungry people that are willing to say, you know what, I've been doing it wrong and I'm ready to do it right.
They're humble and they also serve. I always make the statement that even if I wasn't the pastor of the church, I'd still attend here. The people are just so lovely.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a blessing. I was honored to be here.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, we're honored to have you.
Thank you.
You alluded to sports. Did you play any sports?
Yeah, I was a wrestler growing up. You know, I did all the sports, but I wrestled the majority
that was
of my
the main
time.
one?
Yeah, junior high, high school. We had a little club in college that I went to sometimes.
Where'd you go to college?
Florida Institute of Technology, a little nerdy engineering school. Fit, yeah.
FIT.
Well, yeah. We FIT, we were called Florida Tech because FIT is the Fashion Institute of Tampa.
Yeah, okay.
And so, you know, you don't want any confusion there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good time. I went to an engineering school. I got a Bachelor of Science in aviation management, and then I joined the Army and jumped out of planes. So I've never used my degree.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty interesting.
That is. And was it difficult for you to get into Special Forces?
Well, so that was a total.
You went to what, TBS, the basic school or whatever? And
So to become a Green Beret, as an officer, you have to be a captain. So I served as what was called an enabler. which I was like any type of support, logistical support for those teams, until I could earn the rank of captain and then go try out to be a team leader. And it was right as I was training for that moment, God's like, it's time to leave.
Wow.
So I was training up for the school. I was doing all of my exercises. I was studying. You know, I had Green Berets that were like, hey, you're going to be a great team leader. Like, they're helping me. And then I quit. But, you know, the process of even
You
getting...
didn't quit. You got redeployed.
That's right.
You have a bigger commander-in-chief.
That's right.
Yeah.
I listened to God.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the process of getting in was amazing. And it was just cool to look back. I had some opportunities during college, military schools to go to, really unique opportunities that ended up opening that door for me. So it was just God worked it all out. I mean, it was crazy.
With the military background, is there any returning to any of it? Do you see yourself ministering into the military chaplaincy in any capacity, or this is really the clearest it's ever been for you, what you're doing now?
Yeah, it was a clean cut. Even when I left the military to become a cop, they said, hey, you're an officer. Like, you should stay in the reserves at least, or the National Guard.
Right.
You only work a little bit. You'll keep your benefits. You could
You
promote.
double dip, 2 retirements.
All that. And I just knew that God was like, no, this is a clean cut.
Amen.
And then it was the same from police. You know, it was like, I want you focused on what I've got in front of you. And now that I'm here, I don't feel called specifically to military or to police, but God has linked me up with people in both of those. And so I might do some events or things like that.
2 things, and I don't want to keep you a long time because you've had 3 services.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
But the 2 questions I have, one is how you got connected with Turning Point or TPUSA Faith. We call it Turning Point USA for the main organization,
That's
but when we deal with the faith side of it, we say TPUSA because we want to honor Dr. David Jeremiah, whose ministry is Turning Point.
Yes. Don't want confusion there.
Yeah, and we want to honor him because he's been doing this for years. So, and when Turning Point was just Turning Point, not participating in churches, it wasn't a concern, but now we want to honor
there's
him.
So many branches. And yeah.
So question is, how'd you get connected there? And then the second one is, and this one you can answer for last because I want folks to really tune in. Your teaching style is so unique. What influenced you? What were the things that kind of formatted you and laid that foundation? So
sure. Yeah,
start where you want and end where you want.
Okay. Yeah. So the way I got linked up with Turning Point and then later TPUSA Faith, I remember one day I saw that Charlie Kirk had liked something that I post, or whoever runs his account, and I was like,
Charlie typically is the one who's gonna like something.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, like Charlie liked it, and then I clicked on his profile and I saw that he was following me, and I was like, this is cool. So I shot him a message and I was like, hey, thanks for the follow. And then a few weeks later, I got invited to AmFest last year.
Yeah.
And since then, I linked up with Matt Hay and Will Petty of Faith. Awesome dudes.
They are great.
And so we've just stayed.
And Jared Fleming.
Yeah.
And
so we've stayed close. And so I've been out there a couple times and going to be out at AmFest again.
That's going to be great. December 17th, 18th, 19th.
That's
Phoenix,
right.
Arizona. You got to come.
That's right. And don't you guys have a
Yeah,
code?
you use the Godspeak code. You get 25% off.
There
That's
you
like
go.
the Cyber Monday deal.
Yeah. So get on that.
Amen.
So it was cool to link up with those guys, and I love what they're doing. Honestly, I'll be totally candid. I was a little reserved because, I'm totally outspoken and all that, but when it starts to get into like political organizations, I'm like, I wonder how pure is this?
Yeah.
And I was so impressed by how Charlie wasn't just a guy like Jesus Incorporated, like America and also Jesus, but he's like, he really does love God.
He does.
And that's his first priority. And
he's a voracious reader of the word.
Yeah, and you can tell when he preaches.
It richly dwells in him.
He the way that he intertwines scripture, and I mean, he knows it.
Yeah.
And so I was so impressed by that I was like, I want to be a part of this.
Cool.
And as far as what shaped me, I think first of all, what shaped me is, growing up in church for a quarter of a century and then having God speak to you and say, you've never lived for me a day in your life.
Wow.
And I was so convicted that day. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm 25 years old. I've never lived for you one day. And so I think once my eyes got open to what it really means to live for the Lord, I felt like I had been robbed my whole life just by being deceived and living for self. And I started to unfold all the decisions I had made in life, they were all selfishly motivated. Even praying, I would say, God, help me get this house. Help me get this job. Help me go to this school. It was all about me.
Me.
I never said, God, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to be in the military? Do you want me to buy this house? Like, it shaped the whole way that I viewed everything. And then there's a teacher, traveling preacher, his name's Dan Moeller, just incredible guy. If you listen to him, you'd be like, oh, that's why Shane's the way he is. I stumbled upon him first few months.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
By the way. I mean,
No, not at all.
You find somebody that you want to emulate, that's a great thing.
Yes, well, and I had not heard that message anywhere else, and I still really haven't. And so my first few months of being born again, I went through a kingdom living school that he had, and it was like, a couple of weeks long, and it just rooted me in my identity and how to pray, and I've just been preaching that for the last almost 7 years.
Brilliant.
And the fruit of it is why I keep doing it, because It's like, if you can teach someone how to pray and know their identity, they're going to endure.
That's right.
So that's what's important.
And we got a lot of things we're going to be up against.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
Anything you want to share that we'll just do a freestyle.
Sure.
You can close it out, especially if you want to have a message for folks, whatever it is, take it.
Yeah. I mean, I would really just, like I preached today, I want people to understand that Jesus didn't die for us just to go to heaven. Right. There's a purpose. It says that he became sin who knew no sin, that we might become the righteousness of God. It's about us becoming something. And that gospel of transportation, it doesn't help you in life, You're just walking around complaining about how dark it is, and you wish Jesus would come back in the rapture.
Yeah.
And you're saying, to heaven with me, to hell with everybody else. But when we understand that it's about being transformed, then we open ourselves up to a way more fruitful time of prayer, and that happens in that intimate time that I talked about with the Lord. Yes, we commune with God all the time. We should talk to him at work. We should talk to him in the car, at the gym. But there needs to be time that we set apart for God to speak into our lives and just sit with him. I mean, I have a fruitful marriage because my wife and I have time together where no one else is there.
Right.
And, we need the same thing with the Lord.
Amen.
And so that's what I was preaching today is, if you want to really know who you're supposed to be in Christ, you need to sit with the Lord. And you know what? When you sit and listen, you're going to get the rebukes. You're going to get the chastening. You're going to get the direction, but that's what a good father does.
And he does it in such a way that you don't feel belittled.
No. Yeah, he's a
good father.
You feel encouraged. It's like all those people in there, no one in there felt condemned today.
I folks who were, second service, I won't say who it is, but a very, very famous comedian who was Comedian of the Year, which is like the Academy Awards. He was the comedian across the country. And many comedians follow him for the standards they've set that are very famous to this day. I went to his show, and he was talking about forgiveness. And here you step up, and you talk about harboring resentment. And he was like one of the first to stand up. He was so excited.
Yeah, he was.
And this is a guy, most of his adult life, he's been into New Age and all kinds of stuff. He's been sober for years, but watching God move on him today, he wanted to come back to the room where we were to meet with you.
That's so humbling.
Yeah. And you got to meet Chuck Liddell today, too.
I know. That was awesome. And to hear, I grew up watching him knock dudes out with my dad.
Yeah.
And then to hear him say, like, I was so convicted by that message today.
Yeah. He's going through a tough time.
But it's so encouraging to know that no matter where people are at, whether you're on the mountain or you're in the valley, like, we have access to God, and that we're always going to overcome because he lives in us.
That's right.
He's overcome the world. And so I think my message for people is don't take the bait, which is living sensually, because if you live by your emotions, then, you're going to need emotional experiences to sustain you.
Yeah.
But if you're living by faith, doesn't matter what's happening, bad or good, you're going to keep your eyes on Christ. You're going to keep burning. Hebrews 12, it tells us, keep your eyes on Jesus. He is the author and finisher of our faith. And that's what I want people to do. I want people to live a life where they get to the end of it and they still believe in God.
That's good. That's really good.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for blessing us.
Thank you.
What we're going to do now is when we finish this podcast, I'm going to take you to the room right back here.
That's right.
And we're going to do some filming, watching you bench in our bench press back here.
Oh, my gosh. Let's do it.
You got to throw up some numbers.
Yeah, we're going to try. We'll try for 3 plates. It's been a while.
How old are you?
32.
32. 3 plates. What is that? Is it, so
315.
Wow, I haven't broken 3. I've done 255.
That's good. That's honestly, most people don't beat 2 plates, which is 225.
58, that's not too bad.
2 years ago, I set the Washington state record for police and fire. I benched 353, weighing 198 pounds.
Come on.
So I'm a far shot from there, but we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So you got to stick around for that. That's one we're going to put on TikTok.
Come
That's
on,
gonna be
let's
fun.
go.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, this is Shane Winnings. He has really ministered to God Speak. How do they follow you?
I'm on Instagram at Shane.Winnings, and I'm on YouTube. Very active. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central. Just search for my name. I'm the one that has I actually got verified on YouTube. They won't send me a plaque because they don't like what I stand for. I got over 100,000 subscribers.
That's great.
But they'll verify me, which is good. So there's a lot of fake accounts out there. That's why I say that. Follow the one with the check mark. And, yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks for blessing us.
Thank you.
All right, let's go.
Let's do it.
Lift some iron.